they said, hey, you're going to Cleveland. And I like hugged. There were some people I didn't even know in there. I just hugged everybody. It seemed kind of fake, but again, I wasn't sleeping. So what I'm about to admit in about a minute, you guys are going to be like, what? So I wasn't sleeping. My flight the next morning, because Josh Tomlin just had a rough outing. They had no pitching left.
Love Tomlin, by the way.
Yes, love Tomlin. Great dude. He gave me a lot of advice too. Love you, Josh. But he had a bad outing, and people were supposed to get called up the following day, but they called me up the night before so I can go out and pitch. And the whole week I wasn't sleeping. So my flight was at 6 a.m. I go to the airport just dead dog tired, and I don't know how to pack, but I found that I was flying first class, so that didn't matter. So that was amazing.
Have you ever flown first class?
No, not even close.
Welcome to me casa, make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab, go create your move.
This episode is brought to you by Subway.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to 72 miles per hour with Steve Van Horns. 72. I never threw a baseball 99 miles per hour, man. So if I'm going to host the show, then it's 72 miles per hour. I think that's about where I topped out.
All right, let's do it.
Before I gave the game up for good at the ripe age of 14. So today with me in the studio, I have Percy Gardner. I think a lot of followers and fans of the 99 miles per hour podcast may have met and heard of Percivio Gardner here. Welcome to the show, Percy.
How are we doing, Steve?
Why don't we tell our folks about one of your favorite places when you're on the go and your stomach starts rumbling? Where do you pop in to get a fresh Subway sandwich?
I was gonna say it is Subway, but sorry, Fitzgerald family, if that Cane's gets built here, then
are they building a Cane's?
I'm joking. No, I love Subway.
I mean, supposedly they've been building a Cracker Barrel here ever since I moved here in '98. So,
well, yeah, it might not happen.
No Cracker Barrel?
No. But no, I'm just joking. Love Subway and all the new subs they have. The one I've been loving lately though is the Cajun, or what's it called? It's the steak.
The melt?
Oh, everything's a melt for me.
Those melts.
I turn it into melt everything. I know I'm not supposed to, let everyone know that you guys can melt everything. Sorry, Kevin. But
is that like a hidden menu?
Yeah,
trick?
It's not supposed to be for everyone, but
cat's out of the bag.
It is. But no, I love the I usually get the chicken teriyaki. That's the old stuff, chicken bacon ranch. But lately it's been the Baja steak. There it is.
Oh, I like the Baja steak. It's got the special spicy,
chipotle,
it's like a chipotle mayo.
Yes,
that's a good sandwich. Well, thank you to the Fitzgerald family. They sponsor everything in Tuscarawas County, it seems like. Sure. So without them, then the 99/72 mile per hour podcast wouldn't be possible. So
exactly.
Thank you guys. But hey, so this is what, Percy, my third time, I think, on the show? Fourth time?
Technically it is fourth because you were on part one and part two of when we looked like we were in a prison cell. And now you came back and where we really specialized on culture when we had the new and improved studio because of Josh and his father. But yeah, fourth time.
So see, I was thinking 3, but 4 it is. So we decided last time I was here, we were going to flip the script. So obviously I'm sitting in the host chair today, so that makes me the guy in control of the dialogue. So we're going to have some interesting conversation. I pointed out that, if you listen to Percy's first podcast, obviously a lot of good information about your background, your history, who you are as a man. But I have some more interesting questions. Now, I will say, when I ask some of these questions, obviously I know the answer to a lot of them because I consider you one of my very close personal friends. But I don't think a lot of people do. I don't think a lot of people have had the opportunity to sit down and have these opportunity to ask some of these questions. So I'm going to ask them, knowing that I already know the answer to a lot of them, but there are a few in here that I don't know the answer to. But one thing, we'll go ahead and set some ground rules.
Okay.
You have not seen any of these questions, correct?
No. And for most of my shows, I have like an agenda. I have an agenda, and sometimes, for the most part, the guests can get a little gander of that before, but yeah, I haven't. Unfortunately, Steve was not as willing to share.
I was not. He messaged me and was curious, and I said, no. I'm not going to tell you the questions. And by the way, nothing is off the table, although we are going to try to stay away from anything politically involved or motivated, just because I don't really feel like any negative energy out there. There's enough of it in the world already. But we are going to hit on a couple more serious topics. So you're cool with that, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Percy has said, blank slate, nothing off the table. So that's where we're going to start. So let's start at the beginning, right? Tell us a little bit about your family. Obviously, you grew up here in Dover, and just give people a little bit of background so they don't have to go back and listen to that entire first episode to frame up the rest of this episode properly.
Well, yeah, and episode 1 didn't have any video too, so it's just a bunch of wave frames going up and down. So
this will be the emotion of your life story.
Exactly.
Video, right?
Exactly. So born and raised here in Dover. My mom was a basketball star in West Muskingum. Family's from Zanesville. Sometimes I don't claim them because of their accent, but I'm sure you being from Kentucky, you know what that accent's about.
I could do it right now.
But and then my dad, obviously, if you guys pay attention to the Dover, Ohio page on Facebook, he was, in a track picture, which you guys can all tell he's skinny and fast. I didn't get any of those genes. But most people,
you got his skinny jeans, Gene. Percy loves them skinny jeans.
I do. My legs haven't got as big as my upper body, so I got to show off the legs. Can't wear skin tight shirts. But no, yeah, family was, real like, it was very fun. We made fun of each other, had fun doing a lot of activities. I always knew I was going to play sports just because my dad, my brother, my mom, everyone pretty much played sports. A lot of people don't know this. I have a lot of siblings, but
you have a lot of family.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do.
Lot of family.
I do, and some that are more famous than me too, which we'll get to. I'll say in a little bit, but
all right. I don't think I know that one.
Yeah, see, who actually has a championship ring since I have a second place ring.
Are we talking about Jamal Johnson? His championship rings from the Mount Union University.
We're talking about Monty Hunter, who has a Super Bowl with the Cowboys.
I didn't know you were related to Monty.
Yep. So his mother is the sister of my grandmother. So.
No kidding.
Yep. And he comes and visits every once in a while. I need to have him on the show too, but him being on the West Coast in California is a little tough. But
local boy who made it big.
Yes,
Monty. And
yes,
we've had a couple professionals come through, or at least big time athletes. I mean, C. Grant, who was on your show.
Yep, we're about to have James Black on the show too. He's on the West Coast too, so that's kind of and obviously he's had a longer career in the acting business in Hollywood and stuff like that. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, we need to coordinate our schedules. Being an actor like he is, he doesn't get up at a certain time.
Is he on the West Coast?
Yeah, he is too.
Yeah, so they always blame it on the time change, but I'm like, there's not an 8-hour time change, guys. It's like 3 to 4 hours depending on where you are. So sleeping until 10 is just
exactly. But he played for the Browns. Dogs podcast. But yeah, a lot of people, a lot of family from this area. Good background. But we've also had some, and I don't even know if you were trying to head down this road, but I might as well air it out there. We've had, family history run-ins with the law with my mom.
By the way, for anybody watching, I always am on my phone doing my notes. So if you see me looking at my phone,
he's texting his wife, Danielle. So
they're notes, they're my questions. And then a couple times I'm popping in some of the answers you give just because I find it interesting. But anyways, So I do have that on here. Tell us a little bit about your mom and how your experiences. I obviously know that part of your story pretty extensively. We've spent a lot of time talking about that. And in some ways, my story kind of shadows yours. But just tell us a little bit about her, those experiences, and how it shaped who you are as a man today.
Yeah. Well, first, I'll just say my dad and mom were kind of polar opposites. My dad was a Steelers fan and a hard worker, and he would get up early in the morning, 4 a.m. He worked for ODOT. He did a lot of stuff that...
He was kind of the hard nose.
Yeah. I mean, he was in the military, stuff that I wouldn't necessarily want to do, and he made it possible for me not have to do that. Right. But my mom, once her and my dad split up, she kind of went down a different path with my stepdad, and they both went to prison for drug trafficking. And I was in 5th grade. Yeah, I was in 5th grade when they got, and I was literally getting off the school bus when the big drug bust was happening. I grew up on Washington Street, which is where the Brooklyn Grill was, if you guys know where that is.
Oh, yeah.
It's right across the street from the Tuscarawas County Fairgrounds. And it was an experience. I will say real quick, a funny story about that. Obviously, it wasn't a great time. I wasn't at the house because I still live with my dad. but the police busted in, had guns pointed at my sisters who were, 4 and 6 at the time. So that was not great for them. And they've obviously, had to deal with the consequences of having that experience in their life. But, I guess all the siblings I have, let me just get that out of the way too. 2 younger sisters.
We tend to bounce around.
Yeah, we do.
This podcast, so we'll get it all covered. That's why
we will. 2 younger sisters, 2 older sisters, 1 younger brother, and 1 older brother. So, and I'm like smack dab in the middle. So,
and 1 brother who still lives in this same neighborhood you grew up in.
Oh yeah, and I got news that we're the only brother or family that got MVP of the Dover Philly game. So he got it in 95, 96, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty big considering all the lineage that's come through Dover and the brothers that have all played.
And I didn't know that until we were doing that documentary, Dover Philly documentary. But yeah, back to the main point.
So you get off the bus.
Yeah.
We got off the SWAT team at your house, guns drawn on your family.
Yeah. Well, actually, as I'm getting off the bus, I like to, I was glad to be home from school.
Yeah.
A cop kind of swooped me away as I'm getting off the bus to get out of everything. So
did they know who you were and that you were trying to get to your house?
Yeah, and I want to say they took probably all the kids off the bus because there was helicopters, there was a lot of stuff going on. So they were snatching up all the kids to keep them safe. So, because Washington Street, if you ever drove, I know you've been down there because you own some rentals down there, but if you've ever, it's just one long street all the way down to Tuscarawas River. And, the street isn't very wide. So, when there's cops going on and the bus was going on.
You tend to notice.
Yes, you kind of know what's going on. But it was an experience. And the funny part of it was when my mom was in prison, I was a big sneakerhead, if you guys don't know. She said,
still are.
Yeah, still is.
Yep.
I visited her while she was in prison. And I was like, Mom, I don't want you to sell drugs anymore, but I just want 1 more pair of Jordans. So as a kid, you could tell how selfish I was and how much I love my Jordans. But she always rubbed that in my face once she got out. But
crazy to think that's where your mind is in that moment.
I know.
And not really understand. You were how old again?
Well, at that time, I think I was in 6th grade.
Okay, so you were probably 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
So not really understanding the magnitude of the situation and probably exactly what had happened and what it meant to, your mom's life, right?
Well, at that age, I hadn't seen any movies about prison. I haven't seen Life yet, I don't think. So I just thought, she was in detention, basically.
Yeah, she got in trouble. Got sent to the principal's office.
Yep, basically.
So did you know prior to that day that she was doing anything illicit?
Oh, yeah.
You knew?
I knew that it wasn't right what she was doing, but I didn't know the magnitude. So
even at that age, you identified the right from wrong, but at the same time, still loved your mom.
Oh yeah.
So you're probably conflicted emotionally, between, well, I know she's doing something wrong, but I mean, a parent can relate to that, right? When their kid does something, you explain to them, listen, I'll always love you unconditionally, but this isn't acceptable, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I still. With my stepdad, I haven't really spoke to him since my mom passed, and she passed away with cancer in 2014. But we had our moments. He was a good dude when he was sober. But, I think part of the reason I also looked at my mom a different way is because he would beat her on top of that. So there was a lot of domestic violence in the home, especially with my dad. My mom and biological dad would argue, but it would never get to the point that it got to with my stepdad. So when I started seeing that was kind of like, okay, this is, so I looked at my mom and I had to protect her, but, being little. But once I got 14, he stopped because I got big.
He didn't want no smoke.
No, he did not.
So that would have been, when you talk about your biological dad and his girlfriend, that would have been Tessa's mom?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
I got something for you here.
Oh, God.
I got something for you here. I
don't know. Tell me it's not a photo that Josh is going to put up during
I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera. I don't know, Josh. How well can you see?
How did you get that photo? How did you get that photo? I don't think it's going to blur because we got a manual focus.
I have my sources.
Look at that.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on in this photo right here, Purse.
So a lot of those people are still here in Dover involved in youth sports. So Dia's right in the center, Dia Avery.
I love Dia, man.
Yep, and she's a softball coach for 10U team here at Dover. And that's me on the left. Don't know what kind of gang sign I'm throwing up there.
Oh, man. Locked out.
Tessa looks like she's just ready to eat some cake. But it looks like it's somebody's birthday party. But she's Dia's
Tessa
holding.
Looks like she's about to kill somebody.
Yeah.
She does not look very happy.
She probably just got in trouble from her mom. But and then my two little sisters, Carrie and Markeisha, who both graduated from McKinley, are the other two in the photo. And that's at my Aunt Susie's house, or Esther, homecoming queen of 1973.
From Dover.
Yep, from Dover.
I love everything about this picture, from the family. I mean, everybody's got that to little purse in front of the wood panel wall.
Yes.
Every house had that. I don't think they even made drywall until like 1995 because everything was paneled. But,
Dia and Tess are going to hate you for those photos.
oh my gosh. That smile, man, you could tell the second. I mean, what did Hammy call it? The
best smile in baseball. Yep.
That's it.
And
right
Tito
there.
said I was leading the league in smiles already after being there one day. So
Hasn't changed at all, man. But even at that point, you wouldn't have known to look at that picture how much was going on below the surface for you and your family, right?
Oh yeah, no, not even close. I had so much support from the outside though, and other people and family. So I was always just, I was just blessed with joy. It just was produced in my body, just like caffeine.
Yeah.
Always energetic.
So your mom went away when you were sixth grade, so 12 years old. Obviously, she didn't pass away, which, sorry again for, losing both your parents. Extremely difficult situation. Can't even imagine what that's like. I'm very blessed and fortunate to still have both of mine to lean on.
Yeah, pretty much your dad's laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, call him anytime you need advice. He's always happy to help. But
awesome.
So what was that period in between, 2014, I think, when she passed, and the time that she went away? How long was she in prison, and how often did you get to see her? And then when she came out, what was that relationship like? So
she was in prison for 3 years. And when my dad passed in 2003 with cancer, and I went, and since she wasn't out yet, so when I went and when I went and lived with my Aunt Susie, who is my dad's sister.
So never knew that part of the story. So your mom was incarcerated when your father passed away?
Yes, I believe so. If I have my dates right, yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so that's why I like to give a lot of speeches on adversity, because I've went through a lot in my life. But like I said, I never kind of look back, and you've had these conversations with me and Tessa, right, where she was a little bit older and she could kind of recognize the mood and what it was actually like. And me, I remember things totally different, which I just, I remember the love and the fun times and all that stuff. And the bad times, I knew they were there, but to me, they were just overshadowed by, just because we all loved each other no matter what, and my mom, she might say she did what she did out of love to provide, but But there's two things you've already hit on in this podcast, I think, that are huge parts of why you always had that outlook in life. One, just your natural demeanor. I mean, you're a very positive, optimistic person to be around, right? Mm-hmm. You tend to find the good in every situation. And two, you had a community behind you. I mean, growing up, you had a phenomenal support group, right? From friends, relatives, close people, coaches, teachers, mentors. Yeah.
I mean, you really were kind of the product of it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah. And I think that was the love that my dad got, and people knew my father so well that they wanted to, and they also saw that I wanted to do well in school, and that, I wasn't always the best athlete. So it wasn't like they were just latching on because, I didn't play quarterback until my junior year in high school.
Right.
I wasn't a star on the basketball team, though a lot of schools thought I was, and they would come heckle me, and I was just setting picks. But baseball always threw hard, but you never knew anything. So that's why I kind of look at a lot of the parents of my friends, the Burdettes, the Williams, Micah's parents and his whole family. They were basically extended family, even though they technically weren't. But
I got a question in there about him. We're gonna talk about Mike in a minute.
Okay.
But he's got some big news. We're gonna hit on that.
Yeah, and then obviously the coaches and teachers. It's
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the teachers I remember most is Mr. Andrews, and because I was a terrible student in third grade, and he was tough on me, and it reminded me of my dad because everyone saw my dad like out in public, smiling, happy all the time. But when he was at home, it was more military, like, hey, you better get this done or you're going to be in trouble.
I saw a referee person.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so same.
I saw the same one you probably got to see at home because that was my closest. Moving here in 8th grade, I had him for a few games before his health took a downturn. But I do remember him always being the referee that was the coach.
Yeah.
So if he called you for a foul, he'd come over and put his arm around you and explain to you what you did and what you could prevent, doing to get the next one called. So I always appreciated that about him.
Yeah. Both my parents were really exceptional at basketball. And that was my favorite sport growing up.
Who was better? Who won the one-on-one game?
I would have to say my dad, but I don't know. My mom was a big woman. She was like 5'10", And she was solid. Literally, there was a woman who came and spoke to the Rotary Club who went to high school with my mom.
She remembered her.
I go, hey, did you know Teresa Butcher? And she's like, she was a pit bull. That was her one word to describe her mom. I was like, okay. Well, you really didn't know her because she was a big soft teddy bear, but maybe in basketball she was a little rough. But she would always play with the men. A lot of men that are, known as being one of the best athletes in Dover. You guys know the CJ in Paris, Washington, and all those guys. My mom was playing. It's not much of a park now, but we called it down the hill or the bottoms.
Over the hill. Which most people in Dover, Tuscarawas County are going to know it because it was behind the old Denofos, right?
Oh, yeah.
Over the hill.
Very Denofos.
Yeah.
Look at you. Okay, I forgot you got some history of Dover.
Some. I'm kind of a history nerd, so I got here late, but picked up quickly. So I mean, so your mom and dad, if they never did play before, I like to think they're up there right now smiling down, and one of them just like, all right, let's get it on. Let's go. Let's find a hoop and a court.
Well, my mom used to come to Dover games. You know how Coach Von Kennel coaches. She was expecting why I didn't look the same as I did in pickup games. And I'm like, well, first of all, we got 3 other dudes that are better than me.
And I want to play.
I want to play
like I do in pickup games. I'm not going to get to play.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I knew my job, and my mom was like, why didn't you shoot the ball? I'm like, Mom, I'm not you.
I rebound, I pick. That's what we do.
I play defense.
Yep, absolutely. So I guess looking back, one of the questions I have in here, you obviously have somewhat of a tragic history when you think back, right? Mm-hmm. Would you change any of it?
To be honest, I mean,
I'm sure you'd love to still have your dad here.
Yeah, I would like to see.
So that I'm not counting that.
Well, my mom got to see me all the way up, even when after I've been drafted. She saw a lot of me, growing up and maturing into a man. And I guess I never really answered the second part of your question about how our relationship was. She more became like a best friend, and I was more of the parent and to my younger sisters, because she felt so bad of missing that time that she really didn't discipline them. She really wasn't on them. She just wanted to, she wanted to, them to like her, since she just felt so terrible. So I was more of the, they all kept secrets from me, and I was always coming home like, what's going on? Why at the house like,
Yeah, probably had to grow up quicker than
for sure. But yeah, my my family it's funny. It's funny to look back on. And again, I'm glad I can look back on the whole, all the tragedy, both my parents passing and a lot of other family members passing as well at a young age. But it's like, I just remember, and I focus on everybody, the whole neighborhood, white, black, it didn't matter who you were. Obviously we talked about the teachers and stuff, but Washington Street, man, and even Mills Street and River Street, it just, everyone in the neighborhood, no matter what I did, whether that was, I think Matt Price works at Parkway, and I accidentally broke his window one time, throwing up a rock and hitting it with a bat, and broke his window.
I've heard that story.
He begged my dad not to whip my butt. I appreciate it, Matt, but it didn't work. But it's just, the way they all pour. I didn't recognize it at the time, obviously, but just all the stuff they did. It was like it was a close-knit community. I could go into any house, open the refrigerator, get out what I wanted. It was never like, an awkward moment or, hey, what are you doing in here? Just anywhere.
I think that street's still that way. Just the demographic has shifted a little bit.
Yes, just a little bit, yes.
So back to the original question.
Yeah.
Growing up, if you could have had, a mother and father that were married, lived in that big house on the hill in the community, all hugs and kisses and rainbows, would you do it? Or would you go through some of the pains and struggles you went through because it helped bring you to where you are today?
I think the person I am today is because of everything that I've experienced. And it sounds terrible, but I don't think I would right now. Obviously, back then, 8th grade, freshman year, I really probably would have been like, hey, I want my dad and I want my mom to, I not be in prison.
Probably embarrassed a little bit of the history.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the people I hung out with. Pretty much all my friends had the typical, goal in life, like parents, the American dream. They had that. But once I got to high school, I started to understand, like, I think I could be better off because of this, Right. And it just ended that way where I had the right influences in my life because obviously, if you don't, with what I went through, could easily go the other way.
Right.
You know, because I've had friends that do that as well. But
and what is it? I can't put my finger on it. I wish I could. It determines that final course, you know, to the end destination. I mean, it's that whole like nature versus nurture argument, you know?
Yeah, that's tough. For me, I think what was instilled in me, like with my dad, y'all, you know, saying, hey, if you don't bring home A's, you know, threatening me with being punished or, you know, being whooped, it just kind of, maybe not everybody responds to that as well. But I had him, but I also had his mother, my grandma.
Right.
Who would, if you got online, she would tap you with a yardstick. But for the most part, she was, you know, ultra loving. And then my Aunt Susie, she was ready to call the police when my dad would whoop us. So she was ultra loving. But at the same time, if you didn't eat all your food, you were sitting at the table while all the other kids played.
Right.
So I just think there was a balance.
So you think it's the healthy balance
Yes.
of all the support that comes together to...
Yeah, because I know there's some kids right now that...
You're probably right.
I think they have at home, you know, maybe a parent who is there, but they aren't invested in their child. Maybe they're always drinking or just not kind of there when they're at home. Mm-hmm. So they don't feel loved by, you know, and they don't have coaches that they're comfortable with, or they might not, their personality might not be as open as I am,
right?
Where I can receive, you know, love and coaching and lessons from other people. So the one source they need it, they don't get it. And that's where, you know, could get off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah. You're 100% right. And it's funny now, you know, and you have the opportunity to look back and in retrospect, kind of as you're raising your two kids, right? Little Purse and, and Little P, think back to the way you were raised. And I do it all the time too. I'm sure you do, where you think like, well, how did my parents get through that? And how did they deal with it? And, you know, without calling them and saying like, what would you have done here? You know, because one thing I've learned in you know, it's, you don't have the benefit of having your parents here to get to see this, but I'm sure you've seen it through other people, you know, is they've changed.
Oh yeah.
So now when they give me parental advice, I'm like, you know, this is how we would, I'm like, no, that is not how you would have done it. Like you would have beat the living snot out of me and dared me to do it again. Like,
they like to think that's how they would have done it.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think back to like what kept me on the straight and narrow. And you know, some of it was luck. I didn't always make good decisions. You could relate to that, right? I made plenty of dumb ones.
I was
just
perfect.
Got lucky. But man, as a parent, it's so hard to watch your kids struggle, you know, with anything. You know, we had the helicopter parents for a while that followed their kids everywhere. Now you hear the phrase, and I think we talked about it on one of the podcasts, you know, lawnmower parents who like to go ahead of their kids and just eliminate all the obstacles. They just mow them down for them.
Yeah.
And I know that was something that, you know, my parents, and I know your dad in particular was good at, was letting us fail.
Yeah.
Letting us, you know, go through pain and struggle. And now as a parent, I'm like, man, I hate to see my kids struggle with something, whether it's getting a bad grade on a test, whether it's, you know, not being successful at a sporting event, whether it's, you know, just being left out of a party invitation, you know, that other friends are invited to. It's so hard to sit back as a parent and watch that struggle happen and not want to intervene. Now, you know, I'm probably 50-50. 50% of the time I do intervene, 50% of the time I don't. But man, I mean, it's a discipline as a parent. It's hard, isn't it?
It is hard. And I always kind of like when the situation comes up, I don't most situations, I don't, I'll react and then I'll kind of like, okay, that's not how I should have did this. And then I'll go the right way.
Reactor's remorse.
Yes. And then I'll go back to the, you know, my kids and say, hey, you know, either sorry or, hey, this is the advice I should have give you, or this is how it should have went down. And, you know, especially with my son, with Peyton, you know, she's 3 years old. So not a lot of struggles. Everyone just like, oh, she's so cute. She's perfect. And I'm like, no, she's not. But with Purse, I just don't want him to feel like he has to be the best at sports or whatever, just because,
I feel like for him, it's different, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously my kids aren't trying to live up to the expectation of having a parent as a professional athlete. So for them, it's a little different. They know there's not a lot of pressure there. And I've already told them, you know, on multiple occasions, like, if you're fortunate enough, if you're in that 0.001% that plays sports beyond high school, then that's great. But that's not the expectation. You know, our focus is going to be on grades, effort, attitude, you know, developing yourself as a human being. Those are the things I care about. If you don't hit the ball, I care if you swing,
Yeah.
but I don't care if you hit it, you know?
Yeah. Developing as a human being is the biggest thing I try to stress to Purse. Maybe I'm convincing myself too when I tell him, but
Yeah.
I know sports have helped me as well. I mean, we talked about everything, but sports, learning, failing, being disciplined is all come from, it's for me, obviously there's people involved, but the sport has taught me so much. So I want Purse to kind of understand that no matter what sport it is, if he wants to play soccer, I'm like, if we're going and you like it, we're going hard. If we're not going to be out there like, yeah, I like soccer. Like if it's piano, whatever it is, I want him to work hard at it and, be the best he can be to understand like, this is how things go. I just heard on the internet, so it's got to be true, that a great skill to have right now is have a long attention span. If you can have an attention span where you focus and get good at something, because most people don't, they try something, it gets boring. They go to something else, and I've caught myself doing that too, where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to, do this
Shiny new thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously a huge squirrel chaser, so I can relate to it. But one thing I've found is my wife will walk in and see me watching a documentary and say like, how in the world are you watching this? If it's interesting, I'm engaged.
Yeah. The
problem is, and it sounds terrible to even say out loud, I'm just not interested in a lot of things, right? So like, you've seen me attack things like you said, Pitbull, or I can be laser focused and annihilate any task
for sure
if I have interest. If I don't, then it's a lot harder to be engaged. But you're familiar with Simon Sinek, right?
Yeah.
Simon. So,
yeah.
I read a couple of his books, Start With Why. He just wrote one called The Infinite Game a couple years ago that's becoming really popular. But I got to see Simon Sinek live 3 or 4 weeks ago in LA.
Really?
Yeah. We did this big event for Service Titan, who's the CRM we use for our business. And they hosted this private event with like 2,500 people in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Private concert with Brad Paisley, which was crazy to put 2,000 people in a stadium meant to hold 100,000 plus. Brad Paisley, like right there, like taking people's phones out of the audience and taking pictures. It was awesome. But anyways, Magic Johnson was there. He was a speaker. It was crazy. But Simon Sinek spoke, and one of his more famous moments is a TED Talk that he did a few years ago. And he's talking about exactly what we're talking about right now, which is, these kids today and adults to some degree. I'm not going to exempt them because we could be just as guilty. Yeah. But this concept of, immediate gratification, everything in the world we want now, right? And he's talking about this kid he mentored who went and landed their dream job, and they were there for like 4 months or something like that. And he's talking to him like, hey, how's it going? How's everything? And the kid told him like, oh man, it's not good. I think I'm going to leave. And Simon was like, what do you mean you're going to leave? He's like, I'm just not making an impact. I don't feel appreciated. I'm not making an impact. He's like, you've been there for 4 months. Like you're 21 years old. Like he talks about like from the second that they're born these days. I mean, they're like born with an iPhone in their hand, right?
Yep.
Now my son got an iPhone when he was young. He's 12 now. He probably got it when he was 9 because he was a ball boy and needed to call us when he was coming back.
Yep.
Didn't want to borrow 17-year-old players' phones and whatnot. Nor did I really want him to and break one. But so the apps, obviously, I don't, and I get criticized for it a little bit. I don't let him have anything. TikTok, Snap, Twitter, whatever. He doesn't get any of it. No, don't need it. I don't even have it on my phone. Why would you need it, right? Yeah. But he talks about in this podcast all those apps. The reaction when you get a Snap picture or whatever, when you hear the alert, the ding, your body starts to produce dopamine, which is a chemical that's highly addictive, and you become addicted to it. And your body, when it's deprived of dopamine because you post a picture that doesn't get enough likes, you snap somebody that doesn't snap you back, you text them, they don't text you, your body starts basically going through like a depressive state.
Yeah.
And it messes with, the chemicals and the entire balance of the body. And I'm thinking like, we didn't have to deal with that as a kid, right? Like you went and knocked on the neighbor's door, like, can Tammy come out and play? No? All right, bye. Like we were awkward. There was no immediate gratification. Like if you wanted to watch that TV show, you didn't just open Netflix and watch it. No. You had to wait till 8:00 at night. And now, if you could find a blank tape to pop in the VCR and record it to watch that, then great. But even, if you wanted to watch the movie, you had to rewind it for 4 minutes before you were allowed to. And now everything, don't watch commercials. And he talks in this podcast too about
commercials. I hate commercials.
You don't even have to dating. You don't even have to go through the awkwardness of like, hey, what's up? How's your name? He's like, no, swipe right. I'm a stud. Boom. It's just that easy. Everything is immediate. And so when you talk about, patience being a virtue and their ability to engage and stay focused, like how do they overcome the last 4 minutes of me rambling, everything we've talked about, to even focus on anything. Like I'm amazed that they can even sit down for 2 seconds and
you have to be intentional about it. And when even before I saw that clip, I think it was Alex Hormozy who talked about that. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but big guy on social media about, CEO and run your own company and building a business and all that stuff. But I've just always known, especially I think maybe being a content creator, I'm aware of this. I think I consume content different than most people because I make it. So I understand, like, I admire a nice 8-minute, well-produced, well-edited video as opposed, and I maybe because I'm a snob, I'm a quality snob. I'm just so mad that someone can get so many likes and so many views from a video from their phone.
It's absolute garbage.
Just like, but I think you have to be intentional about pretty much everything, obviously. Not breathing or eating, obviously. But that's something I kind of want to talk about on a different thing, is the America's addiction to food. I'm kind of getting into that. I'm about to look for it because we don't talk about that.
Maybe that's episode 5. Maybe we come back and we talk about America's. We sat here and talked 30 minutes before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, Josh is like, I'm just going to click record. Like, this is like a podcast already. This is just what we do.
I wish we could use that material.
We should just have someone follow us and video it. It was very.
That is my dream. Stuff. That is my dream, to be able to afford that.
Like
someone that controls my social media and also
Kardashian.
Yes, I want someone to follow me with a camera. Not all times, like not a reality show.
Yeah.
But I just love making content, and I would love for that. But now people recognize the value in that, so now it costs a lot of money. So
I'm going to fight us going down the rabbit hole. That's a great idea for the next episode.
Okay.
So for kids today, have you ever experienced, for me, it was like a 3-hour car ride that would get me to say, like, I'm bored. How far like, has your kid ever sat down 3 minutes after being stimulated and been like, I'm bored? It wasn't always that way. And we sound old. We sound like the grandpas right now. Like, back in my day, like I hear it. I know what you're saying.
That's because stuff advances so fast now. Like, it's so
crazy.
fast.
It's mind blowing. Like, how are you bored? You were just doing something 30 seconds ago. Like, every second of every day doesn't have to be stimulated.
He's like, I want a new toy when we go to Target. I'm like, Purse, are you serious? Like, you complain. You have so many Legos, so many toys, every gaming system, an iPad. I don't want to hear about another toy, please, because you're going to play with it for 30 seconds.
Unlimited content at your fingertips.
Yes.
Right now.
It's alarming. Sometimes I think, and I'm like, what's this going to lead to?
I think we know what it's leading to.
Yeah. I don't want to say it out loud. No,
I'm going to bring it up. I got a question later in the show about
that
specific event, if we're talking about the same one. But
right.
And I also have a rapid fire round, so we're going to do.
Ooh, Fast 9.
Boom,
no,
boom. Is that a thing?
I try to coin some phrase, but I never get. It changes every time.
Yeah. So hopefully I didn't just steal somebody's thing with the speed dating thing, but I got some good questions, but I'm not doing that yet.
Okay.
Because some of it will tie back. So obviously, if you say Percy Gardner in Tuscarawas County, the first thing that most people are going to associate with you is the fact that you did what every child dreams of doing. You played a sport at the professional level. Yep. Which is absolutely incredible. And the way that this community responded when that news was announced, it was a big deal when you got drafted by the Phillies, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's part of your story. We don't have to go all the way back to that in your journey through the major league. But I remember the day vividly you got called up, and Jerry and Robert telling me they were going to the game, and me telling them to come down to the field and find you, and they did, and were sending me pictures, and it was just so cool for this community. But tell me a little bit about what that day was like for you.
Well, to begin it, we'll say August 24th, because I made my debut 31st. Carter Hawkins was the player development guy for the Indians, and he came down to Durham, North Carolina, where I was playing with the Columbus Clippers, and I was pitching out of my mind, and I'm like, this is going to end soon. I can't pitch a 0.5 ERA for the whole season. And he made a comment and said to a lot of the guys that, hey, we're not going to call up as many people as we usually do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious? So, and then that's like, we're on a 7-day stand there. So we're at Durham, and August 30th happens. The Durham Bulls from Bull Durham. So I'm freaking out. I'm not sleep after Carter made that comment. I'm not sleeping. I don't sleep pretty much at all. It's just, this is killing me. And in my mind at the time, to show you where my mind was at, I was losing confidence slowly but surely because of one bad outing I had in Columbus.
Now, at this point, was there speculation that maybe you would be one of the ones called up?
Oh,
or
yeah.
was it not really?
Yeah, it was. Everyone, literally guys who had been in the big leagues were calling me the best pitcher on Columbus's team, and that, they're probably not going to have a job because of how well I was pitching. Like, especially if you look at my history, it was just 2016 was just such a momentum building year, and it was just the ball kept rolling, snowball kept building, and it was just ridiculous. I actually was like, wow, I feel like the best pitcher in the world right now. That's how good things were going. And then
I remember that. I remember going down and thinking, like, didn't I see him at Finish Line selling shoes not that long ago? Like, and this cat's
I want to say it was
2015
2015 when I was at Finish Line.
I remember I popped in. I was chatting with you down at the mall, Newtown Mall.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking, like, I mean, maybe it just didn't go through. I guess it's, it's
no, minor leaguers don't make money. Had to have a job in the off season because I had a kid at that time.
Yeah,
so.
like $8,000 a year.
Yeah,
right?
$8,000 a year doesn't.
Let's clarify that. What does a minor league player make? And then we'll get back to the part.
So your first year you get $1,100 a month before taxes, and you only get paid for 5 months. So I was flirting with 8 to 10 just because I had an off season job as well. So I worked
$8,000 to $10,000 a year.
Yes,
to feed your family. At this point, you did not have kids, but you and Krista you had to live. You had to eat, had cars, insurance, right?
Yep.
Not a lot of extra income left over after the bills are paid.
Well, luckily she was holding it down, even though she was in college, she was working, so she had built up a savings because she's responsible. And thank you.
By the way, high school sweetheart is number one from the day.
Yes.
Met, right?
It took her a while to realize that, but she finally did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no money, pretty much at all. Most people, I was able to survive because I had a signing bonus. I was drafted high.
How much was it? Tell everybody. The people want to know.
$470,700 before taxes. I didn't know what taxes were. I hadn't got a real paycheck before that.
What did that mean to a kid that grew up on Washington Street?
Oh my gosh. I just remember the night before that the money, because it took forever the money to clear. I got the check while I was in Williamsport, and they didn't have my bank in Williamsport.
$470,000 checks don't clear real quick.
Okay, let me clear up.
Not that I would know, but
the first check was $213,000 with $86,000 of taxes taken out. And I was like, this isn't fair. and I got away from the state income tax. That was only federal taken out because I said I lived in Florida. So
you were living in Florida.
IRS don't come to get me.
You were living in Florida most of the time.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened, and I was just hitting refresh on my MacBook. Like, when's it going to show up in my bank? Because I went to a First National Bank in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and gave them a check for $213,000, and they said this is going to take a month to clear. Like, I was like, no,
I need it now.
Yeah, so I got hurt and sent to Florida, and that was another bump in the road. I had my financial advisor have to call the bank, and just it was a nightmare. But eventually, it cleared, and then I went to Tampa International Mall and had fun.
First thing you bought?
First thing I bought, I was obsessed with this brand of jean. They were called True Religions. I don't wear them anymore. Yeah. But they were in a lot of rap songs.
Fergie sang about some.
Oh yeah, not just rap songs, all type of songs. So I was like, I'm going to True Religion and buying these jeans right now. I think I bought some for my teammates too. So I was a little crazy. Yeah. Average, I think a pair was $380. 2010.
So back to the day then. Yes. So here we are. It's not August 21st or 24th.
Well, we'll say
great outing.
Yeah, we'll say it's August 30th. We're playing Durham, and TJ House, pitcher for the Indians, but he was in Columbus at the time, goes to the clubhouse, comes back out and says, "Hey, we're getting Coco Crisp." And they were either going to take his $11 million contract, or we're going to send prospects to Oakland. And I'm like, the Indians are cheap. They're going to send prospects, and I'm probably going to be near that list. And Krista loved that I was playing for the Indians. She wanted me to be done. But that was on my mind. So I was in the shower after the game, and I was just in there, just water falling on me. And I'm like, I'm going to Oakland. This is going to be awful. No offense to Oakland A's, but... and finally they come get me, and they're like, "Purse, what are you doing? We need you," because they told me like right after the game, "Hey, when you get dressed and ready, come to the manager's office." I'm like, all right.
This is like one of the few points in your life where you allow some negativity to creep in and maybe err it on the side of a little pessimism, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So, and I finally walk in. It's about 11 o'clock, and the room's full of people. You know, every time, you know, certain executives from Cleveland, they come and visit, and they just happen to be visiting. They said, "Hey, you're going to Cleveland," and I like hugged. There were some people I didn't even know in there. I just hugged everybody. It was, it seemed kind of fake, but again, I wasn't sleeping. So what I'm about to admit in about a minute, you guys are gonna be like, "What?" So I wasn't sleeping. My flight the next morning, because Josh Tomlin just had a rough outing. They had no pitching left.
Love Tomlin, by the way.
Yes, love Tomlin. Great dude. He gave me a lot of advice too. Love you, Josh. But he had a bad outing, and people were supposed to get called up the following day, but they called me up the night before so I can go out and pitch. And the whole week I wasn't sleeping. So my flight was at 6 a.m. I go to the airport just dead dog tired, and I don't know how to pack, but I found that I was flying first class, so that didn't matter. So that was amazing.
Had you ever flown first class?
No, not even close. But yeah, so we get there, and I get to Cleveland, and I'm excited. I'm making friends with the equipment managers because I want all the best equipment, you know, strategizing.
Oh, yeah.
And
which you still get.
Yeah.
Maybe they finally cut it off but for years.
Yeah, no, love those guys up there as well, and the Orioles too. But we pull up and we get into the game and everything, and I'm just like, you know, the whole time. And then the game starts, and it's second inning. And I'm like, you know, Andrew Miller, Cody Allen, Brian Shaw are right here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot be falling asleep in the bullpen next to these guys in my debut. But I was quickly woken up by a phone ring. And by that point, I'm not, you know, it's Cody Allen. So I'm like, oh, thank God. I don't have to go in this game. I'm scared. But then we score more runs. Mm-hmm. So then the phone rings again. The lead's 5 now. They go get Percy going. And I heard Percy, and I looked, and I was like, oh, God. I'm awake at that time.
That gives me chills, man. Even hearing it. I've heard this story 10 times, and it still gives me chills.
And I had to run up 85 flights of stairs, get ready. First pitch almost sailed out of the whole stadium.
So wait, pause.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So you get the call, you're warmed up, all of a sudden, let's go, get him in the game. What was that like? I mean, so the door opens up, right?
Yeah, after I ran down the flight of stairs again. My only thoughts is what song are they going to be playing? Don't Fall.
What was the song?
They took my song from Columbus, which was, it was Lecrae, who's a rapper who's a Christian. So the song was called Sidelines. But
nice.
Yeah, so now
were you like looking into the stands?
I was.
Were you looking for Krista? Were you looking for,
No, I just wanted the vision of because Progressive Field holds 30, 40,000 fans. Mm-hmm. And
it was a night game.
Yeah, and the playoffs are on the line. We're only 4 games up on Detroit.
This is the year that, the Indians went on to play the Cubs in the World Series and went 7 games. But if it wasn't for those dang Nats, you might have a little bit bigger ring.
True. But
and Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, he's all right. But the thing that went to my mind is there's 11,000 people here, but it looks empty. Like that. My first thing was looking around, and there was a lot of seats open, and that kind of was like, one of those things like, dang, I wanted it to be like Rick Vaughn coming out. And
listen, if there was 11,000 people there, 8,000 of them were from Dover. I'm telling you.
The whole city of Dover was
like
there.
A convoy up 77 that day. I mean,
well, everyone said, hey, I didn't know you at the time, but we still turned you on, or we were still at the game once we heard someone from Dover. And Tom Hamilton did a great job, talking about my backstory, and he's just amazing.
Oh, Hammy was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a great experience. I made it to the mound, didn't fall. And First pitch wasn't where I wanted it. Started off behind in the count 2-0 and gave up a hit to Polanco. But got my first strikeout with the Australian guy, Max Kepler, who hits bombs. So that was good. Kepler. That was good. Yeah. But overall, great experience. And obviously, I'd never trade that. I wish the career would have lasted longer. But I'm also happy to be back in the community, and obviously having that to hang my hat on. But
oh yeah,
great people here.
So the moment that call happened, obviously the entire community now is behind you. I mean, they were behind you before that, right?
Yeah.
But what changed in your life? Obviously, I'm imagining some people came out of the woodwork that were newfound best friends.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't new. When I got drafted, that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that had already happened a few years prior. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the Indians actually gave us a book that was showing you how to say no to people. But I wish I would have had that book in 2010.
Dealing with freeloaders.
Yes. So, obviously family, I took care of them. My grandmother didn't want me to do that. She's like, your mom is, once my mom got out of prison, it's hard to get a job as a felon,
Oh yeah. Especially in a community like this.
Yes. And, I was paying rent, everybody was on my phone bill. And to me, I was going to be in the big leagues, so it didn't matter.
Yeah,
I was going to be a millionaire.
The first of many millions that I'm going to make.
My sister thought I got my signing bonus every year, so she was asking for a pink Range Rover. Didn't get her that though. I gave her my old car, and then bought my mom and my sister, nice used home cars. Nothing over 10,000. Yeah, practical.
Yep.
And that was the one thing I always wanted to do, was take care of the people who took care of me.
Mm-hmm. And I think you and I have that in common. When I fantasize about the lottery, which I don't even play, so some chance I'll ever win it. But
I do that too.
I never think about what I would buy. I always think about how fulfilling it would be to pay off other people's mortgages without telling them, just surprise them.
Oh my gosh.
Take care of people who have been important to you your entire life and give them everything. But I've never fantasized about what I would do with the money. And I think you're the same way. And I think, Chad Simpson, my business partner, I know he's the same way.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where our minds go is, I've always been the guy on Christmas. I tend to wonder to watch everybody else open the gifts that I got to pick out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Danielle will say, are you ever going to open your gifts? And it's like, yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
She enjoys the same thing I enjoy, which is watching someone else pick it out. But I can relate to that moment. I'm sure that was probably one of the joys of your life, was getting to take care of that support system that helped you to get to that point, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was happy to do it. My mom you can tell she was kind of uncomfortable about it, but I'm like, Mom, just, let me do this. One crazy story from college. Once I got drafted, there was a guy at our school. He was a freshman. I think he was a freshman All-American, but super, super spiritual guy who got me back on track when I started to struggle in college with my walk with God. And he and his girlfriend had been together just as long as me and Krista. So his now wife she wasn't, she was modest in what she wanted. She had a ring that she wanted, and I ended up picking that up for him because they were still in college.
You bought it?
Yeah, I bought his engagement ring.
No kidding.
Yeah, he ended up transferring from Ball State. I think he could have played in the big
leagues. Did he pay you back?
No, he did not.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't want him to. I was just like,
How did Krista feel about you buying another man's engagement? Just curious. Does that ever come up in no, it does, argument still to this day?
It does not. She, I don't think she ever gave it a second thought. But at the time, we weren't even, together. I was stupid and broke up with her for a little bit. 6 months.
Lucky you got her back.
Man. I know. She's lucky too. No, I'm sure.
All right. I don't want to go to rapid fire yet. We got a little bit more. So how did sudden fame change your life? We talked a little bit about that. We recapped your career. Let's talk about the injury. I know I've heard 5 different variations of what the injury was from other people. It's kind of like the Cracker Barrel we've been building in Dover for 20 years now. But I know the true story. Obviously, I've heard it from you multiple times. But for the audience, why don't you talk a little bit about what had happened with the injury and what that did in your career?
Knee injury, the main one that kind of derailed everything, because 2017 was supposed to be my come out year.
Right. Yep, this was the year after. Yep. Well, first of all, by the way, so end that season, they shut you down because you had dead arm, right?
Yeah. Ended the season, I was like, my last outing was against the Tigers, and I was throwing like 90, 91. So
maybe overthrew you a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
very important. Don't overpitch your kids.
Yes. Because I threw more innings than Andrew Miller did even with his playoffs, because I didn't play in the playoffs, and I threw more innings than him, all of his stuff combined. So my arm was.
Tito shut you down.
Yeah.
Hey, no worries. We got a spot for your purse. You're gonna be part of this team in the future.
Yeah.
So let's get you healthy, right? That was kind of the way he painted it, if I remember that story correctly. So
Yep. He told me to go home and don't pick up a ball until around Christmas time.
Which I'm sure you were happy to not do, right?
Yeah, because I've never played baseball that deep into a season. You know,
Right.
minor league seasons end the first week of September. So, but yeah, it started. I was on a mission 2017. I went down to spring training early. I was, trying to put my best foot forward, show them that I'm committed. I was doing their workout program, and I hurt my wrist first. And that kind of set me back for a while, actually, longer than we anticipated. So I stayed in spring training Arizona for a long time.
That was the weightlifting.
Yeah, that was the weightlifting one. Yep, trying to lift too much weight. Coach's fault. But and then coming back, I rehabbed. They sent me to Akron after I was healthy, and I started pitching there. And in one of my outings there, it was I want to say it was August. It was a simulated game, so no one's on the field really. It's just me and a hitter. And usually it's not a hitter that's playing that game because,
right.
coming back off injury, they don't know if you're going to be, sharp. So they're not going to put someone in there and you ding them up with a ball to the head or anything. But I ended up tearing my meniscus there. So then I had to rehab that. And no hard feelings between the Indians, but they just weren't honest with me. But they told me that they would sign me back, that it's not that bad. You don't need surgery. We'll put some gel in your knee. You'll be good. So they weren't treating it as a torn meniscus at the time. So, but that never happened. They never contacted me or my agent. And then it kind of was like, okay, well, what's next? And signed with the Orioles. Mm-hmm. And I don't regret that, but
who I think, if I remember correctly, did an initial physical right before even signing with you.
Oh, yeah, before I signed,
hey,
I did
surgery.
4 MRIs.
And they said, you need surgery,
one
right?
straight sitting, yeah.
And you were like, what?
Yeah, they were like, you need surgery.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll do it for you, but we believe in you, and we'll do the surgery, and we're good. So I did the surgery December 17th, started throwing late January, played in a spring training game late February, and obviously I wasn't throwing as hard as
right.
They previously saw me when I was at Columbus throwing 99. So, so that was kind of the, I want to reference the joke you made so bad, but I'm not going to about my necklace. But that was the beginning of the end, basically.
I'll reference the joke. So it turned out to be a very bad joke. Have you heard this story? No. So he was wearing the necklace the one day, and I said, "Hey, that's a cool necklace. Where'd you get it?" He's like, "Oh, Tolan Herzik. Wasn't it Tolan Herzik?"
I think I just said a funeral home.
Funeral home. Tolan. I said, a baseball necklace from a funeral home? Was that to signify the death of your baseball career? And Percy goes, no, it actually contains my mom's ashes. Felt like crap.
Yeah, no.
Oh, man.
It's only because I know you, Steve.
Yeah.
If it was someone else, I'd be like, oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a funny joke.
Oh, man. That one. I talk a lot. I'm bound to put my foot.
Yeah, me as well. So. Me as well. But yeah, the injury ended up, I showed some sparks. I got up to 96, 97, a couple games, but never in a meaningful game. It was just in spring training, extended spring training.
Now to clarify, though, you went out on your own terms. I mean, they wanted you to stay in the league. They wanted you to continue to, you drew crowds, and obviously they knew anytime you came to your hometown, you were going to get a league following. So
for sure. And I also had overseas options as well, because I got friends over there making close to $1 million a year, and I was like, but Krista's like, nope, not
at this
10
point,
years is
the family
enough.
had started.
Yeah, we were trying to have our second child, and we were struggling for some reason. We were going through our test, and nothing was coming back bad, but somehow we still weren't, because we didn't realize that we don't really control all that. Someone else has a plan, but eventually we got a dog, and then she got pregnant.
That's how it usually goes, right? As soon as you get a plan B,
yes,
all of a sudden here comes plan A back in full force.
Yeah.
So obviously overnight you decided it's time to hang it up. I mean, I had a good run. I did something everybody's wanted to do, but you weren't willing to live that lifestyle anymore, right?
No, I just Krista, she was home with Purse already and really wanting another child, and though I wasn't completely ready, I still knew it was there. I had shown sparks, and I was just like, But at this point, it's been 10 years, 2010 to 9 years, 2010 to 2018.
Right.
It was time, And, the Orioles released me in June of 2018, and the Pirates were interested, But I just, at that time, it was time. So, and thought I'd come back home and, try to get involved and learn what real life's like in business and
sell insurance.
Yeah. Went right to insurance, and that didn't work out. But
I remember seeing you shortly
kindergarten,
after you came back. Yeah.
Kindergarten, where both our kids were in kindergarten
That's
together.
exactly right. And I said, so what are you doing? And you're like, I'm selling insurance. I'm like, seriously, Percy?
See,
You're like,
I didn't know that, though.
but I'm like, that's former professional athlete selling it. How cliche. He's like, is that like a thing? They do that? I'm like, yeah, buddy. They all do that. So,
oh, God.
I think that was when I put your first doubt in your mind about being an insurance salesman.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, there's not anything wrong, but yeah. I mean, there's different forms, but I was working in Cleveland, leaving before my family woke up and getting home when my family was in bed. So I was like, this is worse than baseball.
Specimens and right? Is that not?
I mean, basically. And I was like, I'm not even seeing my family, so this doesn't even make sense. I might as well go back and play baseball.
Give me a time check real quick, Josh. Where are we at?
5:12.
106. We're at an hour and 6 minutes already.
Yep.
That we've been going.
Mm-hmm.
Since I started recording.
Oh, okay.
since you
All
started
right. So we got to wrap it up relatively quickly here. So I got some really good topics, man, that I wanted to ask you about. Current state of athletes, how the games have evolved, transfers in high school and college. Is it good for the game, bad for the game? Is it good for the athletes? Let's cover that one. Let's spend 1 minute on that if we can.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the current state of youth athletics and all these different sponsorships available, transfers? I just saw a kid transferred to Hovind
name, image,
from
likeness?
West Virginia today, I think. Some crazy announcement. But anyways, what are your thoughts on all that and how much harder it is to become a professional athlete and at what age they start working these kids and developing them now?
Well, I don't want to be the one that says, hey, you shouldn't specialize on one sport. I know I didn't. It worked out for me, but also there wasn't workout programs, nutrition, all this stuff going into it. And there wasn't specializing in sports when I played. I loved all three sports, so I wanted to do that. And I think it helped me, But for me, just loving the game and being competitive, I think is what I learned is ultimately, yes, working at your craft is great. You must do that, hitting, pitching, shooting, dribbling, all that stuff. But the biggest thing I think is learning how to, grab hold of that competition and just figuring out how to win,
right?
Or how to win the battle if it's pitcher hitter. It took me a while to do that. I looked at things from an exterior. It wasn't interior. I was looking at, this mound isn't that great, or I was always something else out there. Mm-hmm. And finally, I got kicked in the butt with just, hey, this is just competition. Just one-on-one. Quit worrying about, my arm hurts.
Compete.
This hurt. This is weird. No, just compete. Mano-a-mano, baseball reference. Go out there and do your job, and give your team a chance to win. Instead of the latter. So that's just compete, kids. That's what I'm saying.
Do you feel like the evolution of the young athlete, obviously, I mean, the age at which they dominate, the age at which they develop and work through AAU, travel ball, all these other things, I mean, you would agree it's led to a crazy level of competition, right? I mean, these kids are better than they were 10 years ago. They were better 10 years ago than they were 20, right?
Yeah, of
and
course.
God only knows where they'll be in another 10, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're always, evolving. We're learning new things. Baseball, spin rate, that wasn't a thing when I was growing up, but now the kids know.
Velos,
yes, all that stuff.
So do you think it's good for the kids or do you think it's bad for them?
I think the numbers are a good thing to measure, but I don't think you should obsess over it. And I think as a child, not from a parent's perspective, but as a child, you should not be thinking about your end goal all the time. You should be thinking, okay, tomorrow, this is what I want to accomplish. Or, hey, in this week, this is what I want to do. This is what I have to do. I have to make sure my school is done. I have to make sure I get my lifting done or conditioning. I think my endurance isn't where it needs to be. I think that's what you focus on. Even when I was in the big leagues, playing professional baseball in the minor leagues, I was thinking about, what would it be like to pitch in Philadelphia? All this stuff. And not thinking about, hey, I have a bullpen today. What do I want to work on in my bullpen? Instead of thinking, hey, man, what happens if I have to face Barry Bonds? Something like that.
Story of my life.
Yes.
And you've heard Chad and I talk about it. We kind of adopted the saying with both of our lives: always happy, never satisfied. Always happy, never satisfied, which, you know, can be a gift and a curse. We're always looking ahead, but at the same time, you got to stop every now and then to appreciate the moment, because if you're always looking ahead, then you're never in the moment. And I definitely catch myself living outside the moment.
And parents do not. I've seen it a lot, even back in the day. I'm not going to, you know, specify anybody, but there's people that were just burnt out. Mm-hmm. And
that's what I worry about with sports. Are we going to burn out? You know, as far as you know, is it good for the game? I mean, people are complaining professional baseball games become boring. The pitchers are so good. They can put so much spin on the ball that, you know, you're not going to see 8 home runs a game anymore. I mean, if you do, that's a complete anomaly. The norm is, you know, 4-1, 1-0, right? And, you know, some people are saying that's making the game of baseball hard to watch.
Well, it's hard to say this as a pitcher, but we all know when baseball was in its best state, you know, there was always that steroid word around.
Oh yeah,
all these home
late
runs,
90s, early 2000s.
Yes, that's
McGuire,
when baseball was at its best,
and it was a blast to watch.
It was.
Barry Bonds.
Yes,
I mean the greats, right? The guys that maybe never will get in the Hall of Fame, but boy, did they draw the numbers.
Except Big Papi, he got in.
Yeah,
but
I don't think he's ever been officially considered part of that, right? I think a lot of people informally did, but was he ever formally like?
I don't know. I looked into this, and I feel like I think he's a great player, especially in the clutch. But
he was juicing.
I feel like he is, and he was in the report too. But
in his defense, if you know all the greats are at some point, and I'm not saying it's okay to do it because everybody else is, but if you're trying to be competitive and you're known as a hitter and everybody else is using steroids and you're not.
That's what they said Barry Bonds was doing. Barry was hitting 40 home runs before he supposedly got on the juice.
He would have been in the Hall of Fame with
he was dominating. 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases.
Right.
But everybody was going crazy over Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire hitting 60, 70 home runs. He said, 40's not good enough.
Yeah.
So, and then his head got big. Physically,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with the games if athletes continue to progress at the rate they are. And obviously, you know, money's finding its way into youth sports now legally.
Yeah,
you'd be crazy to think it hasn't always been there.
Yeah,
illegally. So it's just I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if it's good.
Now the college sports are doing that. I mean, there's no amateurism there.
They're already talking about high school. You know, being the next forefront. So. We'll see, but we'll move on from that one because I got some other things I got to ask you, and I don't want people to get drawn out. So I'm hoping that like the first 15 minutes he was recording weren't the start of the show so that we don't go too late. But he's probably right. It's probably going to be 2 hours. So just bear with us, guys. This is great content. We have a question at the end that's going to blow your mind.
Uh-oh.
No, we don't. I'm just trying to keep them engaged so they don't stop.
I love the honesty.
Yeah. Have you talked to Micah since his big news last week?
Yeah, so I've FaceTimed him twice. The first time we weren't able to really get into it, and he also wasn't able to spill the beans yet. So he had to like kind of hang up and say, I'll have to call you back. But yeah, I've talked to him, FaceTime with him, and I can't wait to see.
How excited are you for him?
I'm excited because I feel like he's going to be like Dion is now to Jackson State.
Man,
I feel
be lucky.
Yeah, because I feel like he loves it so much.
He does.
It's not a job to him. He's always wanted to do this.
Yeah,
and it's like finally, because I felt like he should have been head coach years ago, but you know, he's patient and he knows what he has to do, and he's fine with learning and taking a back seat and maybe taking on more responsibilities than he should have or what he was getting paid. But he knew. In the end,
right,
it was going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, he bought his time.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he's head coaching now, and he's also made a positive influence on Kevin Warren, who was Big Ten commissioner.
Right,
Kevin Warren took his resume. He's already interviewed with Big Ten, so his name's on their radar. They love him. So I'm just like, man, this is all coming to fruition.
So cool.
Yeah,
I was talking to Coach Von Cuddle about it just the other day at a TC's graduation party. I saw you there. And he's got like a sparkle in his eye when he talks about it. You could see that his passion has been passed along to one of his players.
Oh, for sure.
Skill wise, I don't know where Mike would rank in his all time, but as far as the heart and the passion for the game, I'm sure Mike is in his all time starting 5, right?
Yeah,
because they share that coaching passion. And he was laughing because Mike had told him he won't. They're the Quakers. He said, "I won't order any equipment that says Quaker." He refuses.
He gave me a shirt.
Once a tornado, always a tornado.
Yeah.
So it's all just gonna, have the logo and
and he's all Dub C Nation is what he calls it.
Dub C, yeah, exactly. But still, how cool is it now? Micah obviously got to participate in your success in 2010, or even really before that, right?
Yeah.
Celebrates you as being the starting star quarterback, and then going to Ball State to play, Division I college baseball.
He was at some of those games
first.
making way too much noise.
So now you get the opportunity, 15 years later to reciprocate that love for your brother. And
I'm going to try to embarrass him whenever I go to his games.
We're going to take a party bus down.
I mean, he comes to Mount Union and stuff like that too. So it's going to be, we're definitely going to, because he was coming when I was playing at Ohio University. Him and David White came down there and they were just yelling outrageous, and I'm like trying to be focused, so I'm definitely gonna get him back.
It's a big moment, man. So happy for you, Micah. Congrats, buddy. Nobody's more deserving.
Yeah.
And I know your number one fan will be right there screaming for you at some of those games. So two more things, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
So not gonna get on the political side of it. We're not even gonna talk about the gun debate, but obviously the events that unfolded in our country just again last week, it was one of the more publicized one with, I think it was 19 people murdered. There's no other way to say it in a school. I mean, what do we do, man? Where are we at as a society? How do we get back on track? I mean, it's crazy to think about kids killing other kids, right?
I think it's the solution is simple. Execution isn't. I think, I think I post this on Rainbow Connections, social media all the time, and I always think about this. When I played at Akron Rubber Ducks, there was this girl who was a front office worker. She would always be out doing a lot of the media stuff during the game, and she always wore this shirt that said, "Kindness is so gangsta."
I remember you telling me that. Yep.
And it kind of just stuck with me, and I just feel like people, especially since you're not face to face anymore, and I think we talked about this as well, it's a lot easier to deviate away from being kind to one another since you're not. And I know when you go into a school and you shoot at schools, at teachers and kids, and you kill them, you're obviously face to face there. But so much is built up before that point. I'm sure a lot of bullying and a lot of all that stuff is happening behind a screen, and you kind of left at parents aren't really intervening. Kid doesn't really tell his parents a lot of the stuff about that. But I think kindness is the answer. I know it sounds cliche or too easy or whatever. I just know if you practice kindness, there is no possible way that you could murder someone. You can't get to that point.
Empathy.
Yeah.
I feel like empathy is something we're lacking as a society, especially these days. You and I talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
But it feels as though everyone feels as though they have to draw a line in the sand on every topic. And I feel like some topics just can't have a line in the sand.
Yeah. I think that's a skill, though. I think kindness is maybe easier. It's not maybe. It's definitely easier than empathy, because empathy requires you to make an effort,
Right.
Kindness does, too. It just comes natural to me. But empathy, you actually have to think about, okay, what is that person going through, or how would I feel if I was in their shoes?
Right.
Because that takes a little bit more thought.
Right. Sympathy means I feel bad for you. Empathy means I feel bad with you, right?
Yeah.
I understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many so I said we wouldn't get political and talk about, taboo topics, but, I'll give an example, of the most controversial one right now, the abortion topic. And I'm not going to ask your opinion on it. Again, it doesn't matter to me, but I feel like people are so determined that we'll use this table, for example. This is the line.
Yeah.
Are you on this side or this side? And part of the reason why I've said I can't go into politics, I can't do it. I'm too convicted in my morals and my ethics, and I have strong opinions about things that sometimes don't put me on one side or the other side of the topic.
Yeah.
Yet everyone says, no, pick a side. Well, okay, let's talk about abortion real quick, right? Like, do I agree that someone should be able to, have a baby killed in the second trimester, in the third trimester, late first trimester? Like, what's the line? It's my struggle. I've always struggled with so is it at heartbeat, which is at 5 weeks? Is that then a living baby? Is it when the baby's born within 5 minutes you can still do it? Or is it where's the line? At some point there's a line, and what is it? My mind struggles to accept that. It's not okay ever to kill is the way that my mind's programmed. So if some people say, well, before it's born,
Yeah.
Okay, well, some babies are born at 30 weeks and they live. Like, so are you saying that? Or like, I struggle with that. But then on the other side, people say, well, what about the kids that are going to be born into a lifestyle where they're, going to struggle their whole life, or they're going to be born with disabilities or rape victims? And I'm like, I get it. I know exactly what you're saying. You're right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. But so where do I stand on the topic? I'm like, I don't know, because my mind is empathetic and I understand
both sides
very clearly, and they both are very valid. So what I know you can't do is just tuck it away in the corner and not talk about it. There's got to be laws to regulate it, make sure things aren't abused on both sides. But I don't want to be one of the people making those laws. I don't even like being one of the people to talk about. But I feel like those are the kind of topics that are so controversial and polarizing. Just like the second that event happened, a week and a half ago, it became a conversation about video games, gun control, politics, politicians, schools, teachers, liberal. I mean, everything from the teacher that propped the door open to the parents and the grandma. And like, I'm like, what? I just don't get it, man. My mind just starts reeling. Because I'm like, how did we get here?
I feel that it's one of the words you said, regulations. There can't be, for me, in the world we live in now, there can't be just black and white. No, you got to, this is how the law works. It's going to go in their favor. There has to be regulation. And I mean, I know in some states there's already that kind of regulation.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of companies that are saying, hey, if you live in the, if you work for Amazon or Apple or whatever, we'll pay to get you to that state that allows it to happen. All I can say is, I see both sides of the spectrum just like you, but I just, it's a thing that is so touchy that, not going in and picking a side, people can accuse you of a thing too. So there's really no easy way about going around it.
Oh yeah.
But for me, I just feel like, I don't want to be the deciding factor with my feelings. I know I wouldn't want, my daughter or, someone in my family to have an abortion. But again, I'm not going to say, hey, you can't.
Right.
I mean, it's
and the same topic on gun control. Like, I understand both sides of the argument. Should they regulate? Yeah, of course they should. Yeah. Way too many people have access to guns, but at the same time, right, the guns aren't committing the crime. I understand that argument too.
Yep.
And there's other means, right? There's knives and guns, and people drive cars into crowds, and I mean, so you can't regulate the crazy out of people, right?
That is true.
People do bad things. I think my mind always goes to the source, which is the question I was posed a minute ago. How did we get here? How I can honestly say my entire life, I've never sat there and given any actual thought to killing someone. What makes someone, is that a genetic deformity? Is it it's so difficult because, I'm the kind of guy that wants to wrap my head around everything and usually can, right? Because again, in a society where we can get all the answers right on our phone, I can't find the answer to why are people so damn cruel sometimes.
My one thing is I don't understand either. Because I feel like I have to talk myself up because I think about these situations so I know how to react. If, my kids or my wife's in trouble and I have to do something, I always talk myself up to, okay, yeah, I would be able to do that. I could do that. I could, defend my family if I have to. And I don't have any guns, but I also plan to purchase them. I just haven't done it yet. And that's been happening for 10 years now. But
now, see, I know I could.
Yeah.
But I pray I never have to.
Yeah, true.
Because in the moment, I think it's fight or flight.
Yeah. But I'm saying, going back to that, I don't
know that I would ever recover from it.
I can't wrap my head around, killing someone innocently, because I can't even honestly say that I would be able to do it in a time of need. I mean,
right.
I think I would be able to, obviously. If my family's on the line, that's going to happen. But
the focus always goes to the end result as opposed to the source of, what happened in that kid's life that got him there. And I'm not trying to make him the center focus.
Yeah.
He wasn't the victim. But I don't understand how a kid at that age that has so much to live for, and I know he had his tribulations, man, but we just spent the first 30 minutes of this podcast talking about how life can start rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can overcome it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were a walking, breathing case. And although you're, much more comfortable with your story than I am, I'm a case of it. I mean, there's so many situations where at 18, you might think things are terminal, whether it's a breakup or whatever it is, but it's not, man. Life is so much bigger and you only get one shot at it.
And it's all perspective. And I want to say one last point that, like, yes, you know, going back to your point, yes, I had a lot of stuff in my life that went wrong, but in that kid's life, is there just a hint of positive, or is all the darkness, you know, encompassing the light? Because for me, when I talk about this or when I think about this, it reverts back to what my spiritual life and my walk with God is. He pretty much says this is all going to happen. You don't want it to happen, but it pretty much says, hey, during the end days, it's going to get bad. And I'm assuming we're not. Obviously, we don't know when we are. And that's how I believe.
This could be
it's going to
2-hour conversation on its own, man, because you and I both have very strong feelings about this topic.
Yeah, but that's how I explain it. And it's going to be really bad, but I don't see it getting any better. Unfortunately,
I don't either, but I also don't want to stop fighting and
for sure,
as though
there's
got to be something we could do, and you can't outlaw everything that impacts or influences death. I think you can definitely regulate it better, but I don't know, man. My mind goes to those kids and what they went through, and the last thing to go through their minds in the moment. And I mean, it's haunting, it's chilling. You know, as a father of a 12, 9, 6-year-old, and I know you have your 2 young kids. I mean, I didn't post on Facebook. I didn't say anything about it. I don't even know what to say. I get to the point where I'm like, I have no more words. There are no, you know, cries for thoughts and prayers. There are no cries for legislation. You're just
and I
speechless.
I think it's private conversations where I like to have. This is, you know, we're kind of treating this as a private conversation.
Oh,
and
I forgot we're recording this. Yeah, my bad.
But that's how I like it. That's where, you know, that's when you learn stuff. Even someone who doesn't have the same views. Like you said, you don't want to be surrounded with a whole bunch of Steve Van Horns.
No.
You like
find people more different than we are. Yeah. Right? I was never a professional athlete. My mom wasn't in jail. I mean, we don't share the same story yet. You know, I consider you one of my closest friends because I think we both, you know, understand each other and are willing to listen and have discourse in a healthy way and not just try to talk each other into seeing things our way. Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, I consider myself, you know, more educated when we come out of these conversations because I get to understand a different perspective on, and I think that's probably what we're lacking more than anything. But I said we wouldn't get deep, and we just went like 10,000 leagues, baby. So we're gonna come back up to the surface because we got to bring this thing in. So this is the last deep question, and then we're gonna hit like rapid fire, superficial, really surface level stuff.
Okay,
you know, I don't believe you. Anybody's life. I promise. Last one though, that's a little bit serious.
All right.
Your kids listen back to this podcast in 40 years. What do you want them to hear?
I want them to hear that me talk about the adversity I faced and just having the people that love them and taking their support as at face value and not, you know how we are as kids, you know, especially you don't like to hear stuff from your parents. You'd rather hear it from somebody else, but you won't admit it. I just want my kids to know that their dad was, you know, kind to others, even though I wasn't always kind to them at home. No. And that, you know, I never want to use fear as an excuse. So obviously this time right now, especially this going out to the world, whoever wants to watch it, it can be risky or devastating to say the wrong thing, but you know, I try my best to give exactly how I feel and not try to shy away from everything. And I just wanted them to know that I was a kind person who did not use fear as a crutch. That's basically it. Because I every night I haven't started out with Peyton, but I try to do positive affirmations with Purse. He doesn't understand it yet, obviously.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, he will.
He will. I wish I was smart enough to understand everything my parents and family were trying to teach me growing up at his age.
You do 20 years later. No.
A lot of appreciation, man.
Yep.
Wouldn't be where I am without my family, but boy, did I tell them they were wrong a lot growing up. So, but I'll affirm for you right now, man. You're a hell of a guy. I consider you, again, one of my closest friends. What you see is what you get, and love you like a brother, man. So
appreciate it.
Keep being you.
You gonna get your own podcast show after this?
Little Garners. Dad was a good man. And I hope, by the way, in 40 years, you're still alive and kicking. Maybe a little senile, not able to tell them exactly what they want to hear, but, you know.
I'll still be playing at the Y at 6 a.m.
Bill Weisgarber's probably that. Well, I don't know. But let's go. All right, so let's hit this real quick. You ready? Rapid fire. You're not allowed to give these like extensive thought. You just got to first one that pops in. Favorite stadium you ever played in?
Target Field.
Target Field, which is in
Minnesota Twins.
Gotcha. They got
it was brand new.
In
it was brand new.
It's cold up there though. Strikeout.
I'm gonna have to say Victor Martinez.
Oh heck yeah, that's a good one.
Because I loved him.
Scripture.
Scripture is Philippians 4:8. I know a lot of people like 4:13, but I like 4:8. Think about positive things that are worthy of praise.
Nice. I like that one too. Might be one of my favorites. Biggest regret?
Being too afraid to ask somebody something. Could be anything. I guess more afraid of asking a girl out in early years of my life.
Dang, I could dissect that one, but for the sake of time, we won't. Most influential person in your life? Don't worry about the one's feelings.
Grandma.
Hurt, man.
I'm going to say Grandma Donnie.
Grandma's always a good answer. Who is the greatest athlete of all time?
Oh, I'm going to say Michael Jordan.
Shoot, man, I'll never disagree with that one.
I was thinking of all sports, though, but it just came back, too.
Although I will say, and I can't wait till this documentary comes out here in a month, but the more I've learned about Kobe, I love Kobe. Yeah. In the moment, I didn't appreciate him the way that I probably should have. But man, what an athlete and what a person.
Oh my gosh!
If you could spend a day with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be? Full day.
Full day. I'm gonna say it's on my mind. Might as well just say it. I was gonna think of something better, but Jackie Robinson.
That'd be an interesting one, huh?
Especially with what's going on with Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson. Have you seen that?
No.
Josh Donaldson called Tim Anderson Jackie, and there's a big thing going on. But yeah,
I'm not going any deeper on that one. We got serious enough already. Favorite musician?
That is hard too. I'm gonna say, favorite musician. I'm gonna say Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. You and Danielle shared the same artist.
Really?
Favorite sport to play?
Basketball.
I knew it. I already knew it. Made a lot of money playing baseball, but you can't beat the hoops, man.
You can't.
We share that passion. Favorite sport to watch?
Basketball. NBA playoffs, man. I just can't.
I get it.
March Madness, too.
Favorite song ever?
Favorite song ever? Oh.
I got a crib on the wall.
I'm going to say Usher, Superstar. It's not one of his big hits, but it was a song I contemplated singing at my wedding, but I'm everybody at my wedding glad I didn't.
Nice. I've never heard you sing, but it's not too bad. Deep baritone voice. Favorite car you've never owned?
Mercedes G-Wagon.
G-Wagon. Favorite car you did own?
My Chevy 1500.
Oh, the one you totaled in Florida?
I didn't total it.
The one that
someone ran into me.
Totaled
Yes.
while you were in it?
Yes. I'm glad I didn't have to pay for it still, though.
That was a sweet truck.
Yeah, I love it.
White, wasn't it? With black rims and
black and red. It was their first red line edition. Oh, so good.
That thing was sweet. I think I saw the before and after photo. That thing was smoked. All right, who you got in the NBA Finals? Give me the team and the Finals MVP.
I'm going to say Celtics, Jason Tatum.
Oh, man, I agree.
I literally just changed it 5 seconds. When you asked that midway through your thing, I was thinking Warriors. But then I was like, nope, Celtics.
If the Warriors do win, who's going to be the MVP?
Steph's going to get his first Finals MVP. First.
100% agree. But, man, Tatum, where did he come from? I mean, dude's been good for a minute. But I feel like 5 years ago, everybody was talking about AD and the next James Harden. And now people are like, not even in their top 30.
And John Morant came on the scene, too.
I mean, he's got to be in most people's top 10. But, again, different show, different conversation. Listen, I hope everybody enjoys it as much as I have personally. I heard some things I haven't heard before. Again, we want to thank Josh. We want to thank the Subway for their sponsorship.
Yep.
I know you got a couple other ones you're working on, so we're excited for that.
Yes.
Always enjoy the show. I hope everybody else does. Take care, everybody, and tuning in to 99 miles per hour with Percy Gardner.
I got a crib by the water. Say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shouting you my little mama. I got a crib by the water. Say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shouting you my little mama. She be on that Henny. I like that Corona.